Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's show. I'm your host, Zach Drew. You know, these last two shows have been really heavy news with some pretty dark things that the world's elite are planning over the next 2 decades on how they plan to control the world's systems through artificial intelligence and the global brain. We've talked about this on the last 2 programs. If you missed them, I really encourage you to go back and take a look at them. There's a lot of things we want to cover today. You know, I really don't think that we quite realize just how big and powerful these tech companies really are. Did you know that just last year, Denmark created a brand new position in their government? It's a position that no government in the world actually has right now. It was it was created last year, this new position for the government of Denmark. And that new position is called a technoplat, like as in diplomat, but a technoplat. Now, I mean, think about this for a moment. A diplomat, what is the purpose of a diplomat? It's literally to represent your country to another country and to strengthen ties between your country and theirs. That's basically the sole purpose of a diplomat. Well, now they've created a new position called a technoplat, which their purpose is very similar, but listen to the twist. They are literally going to be visiting, representing the country, representing Denmark. They're going to be traveling to technology companies like Amazon, like Google, like Microsoft. And the sole purpose of this technoplat is to strengthen the ties between their country and these technology corporations. You got to understand, this might say, well, that's an interesting thing. This is one of those type of things that whenever you learn about, you've really got to sit there and think about for a while, because the implications of this, what they're actually saying is incredibly loud. And you need to listen to it. This is really what they're saying. That we are looking at these technology companies on the same playing level as countries. These technology companies have in a sense become nations in themselves. And they do not have our best interests in mind as Christians. And we're going to have to create something as the body of Christ. I'm telling you right now that the censorship that is happening right now, and we're going to be getting into it later on in the show, but the censorship that is happening of conservatives and conservative Christians on these platforms, if we don't tackle it now, if we don't try to start to come together to build a new type of platform for Christians, and one day whenever they completely silence us, let's say in 15 years or 20 years, it'll be too late. We've got to come together now to create a platform to get the gospel of Jesus out in these end times, to not silence Christians, to not silence conservative news. There was an article that NPR put out. It was actually an interview that they had, and they made it into an article for an easy read. And the article was literally titled, "How 5 Tech Giants Have Become More Like Governments Than Companies." And they were interviewing New York Times tech columnist, which has been a tech guy for New York Times for over 20 years. And he was talking about the frightful 5: Amazon, Google, Apple, Microsoft, and Facebook, and how they're collectively more powerful than many governments. These corporations are more like governments than corporations. So you think about these 5. You think about Amazon, Google, Apple, Microsoft, and Facebook. But you might be thinking, as actually I was driving in with my wife this morning, and every Friday that's what we do. We have a little routine. We wake up in the mornings. We film the show on Fridays, and we head up to a nearby town called Sullivan, Illinois, right outside of Decatur, my hometown, and we drive up here every Friday with Alyssa and our sweet little baby girl, Anessa. I'm actually looking at them right now. They're always right behind the camera every show. And she was telling me that it's interesting that these 5 companies, there's only one social media company represented, which is Facebook. You have Google, you have Amazon, you have Microsoft, but there's only one social media company represented. And I said, well, you know what's interesting is I can see why you're saying that, but the fact of the matter is that they're all social media companies. You see, it's the frightful 5, but Facebook is the social media one of the group, clearly. But, Facebook also owns Instagram and WhatsApp. And you think about, well, Google. What is Google? Google isn't a social media platform. They can't censor my free speech. They own YouTube. Apple, okay, well, they have my phone. They own basically every major podcast in the world. I mean, is through iTunes. It's through Apple Podcasts. So it's like these tech companies, even though it's just 5, they own the world. I mean, it's crazy. So with that being said, I want to move into an article that is of major concern to me. And it actually just happened last Friday. It's been an ongoing process. And it's in the same vein of what we've been talking about already. But I'll read it for you. I have it pulled up on my laptop here. It was from Zero Hedge. And it says this: Americans need constitutionally compliant social media. And I completely agree with that. These American tech companies need to adhere to the American Constitution, where if we have certain rights covered under free speech, then we have free speech on these social media platforms, the purpose of getting speech and opinion out there. But this is what the article's, the first paragraph said. This past Friday, so a week ago from today, Alex Jones of InfoWars was deplatformed from the last couple of third-party tools he had been using to publicly communicate his message after Twitter and Apple permanently banned him and his website InfoWars. This means an American citizen with a very large audience who played a meaningful role in 2016 election has been banned from all of the most widely used products of communication of our age: Twitter, Facebook, Google's YouTube, and Apple iTunes. Now, some of you might be saying, well, it's Alex Jones. He needs to be gone. I'll tell you right now, I like Alex Jones. I do. I like Alex Jones. Now, I also believe, and if by some happen, if somebody from InfoWars is watching, I'll, be gracious with me, but I will say that there's probably 15% that I think is, pretty radical and I don't believe at all. And maybe some of you are like, well, I would think it's more of 2% that's radical. Maybe some of you are like, I think 98% of it's radical. It's not the point right now. I mean, but my thing would be, don't throw out the baby with the bathwater. But Alex Jones has done a great deal of exposing evil in the country and around the world. And he isn't being censored. You got to understand this. So whether you like Alex Jones or not, you need to take away this. So let's say you like him, you hate him. We can all agree with what I'm about ready to say. Alex Jones is being censored from these social media platforms, whether it's YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, iTunes, Apple iTunes. And you need to understand this. We can all agree, Alex Jones did not break the law. Alex Jones did not break any law. He might say some crazy things, and things that you might even say are lies, and I'll even play that end of the spectrum. Let's say what he's saying is lies. You can lie and be a crazy person, and you're still protected under free speech under the Constitution. You see, they say that he violated their terms of service, which is hate speech. It has nothing to do with hate speech. It doesn't. If it had to do with hate speech, then why aren't some of the other, like David Duke or Louis Farrakhan? If it had to do with hate speech, then why do they still have a social media presence? It's not about hate speech. So this man, Alex Jones, who didn't break any laws, they censored him because he got too powerful. And he's very popular and too powerful, and he was actually creating major change in America. He can be even, people can make the connection that he was a big part in electing President Donald Trump. Now, whether he was a big part or a small part, he was a part. And so the left is coming after him because he made a difference. But you need to understand that right now, they might be going after really crazy, conservative, alt-right people now. But the end result is for you and I, as Christians, as believers in Jesus. Because it's anything that goes against their plans. It's anything that goes against their agenda. There's a time that's coming whenever you and I, they're going to try to censor us. And the reason they went after Alex Jones is because he's powerful right now. He created change right now. There are some people that are being censored as Christians right now, but not the vast majority. Why? Because they're not powerful right now. They're not creating massive change in America, unfortunately. I'm sad to say that. But whenever the church starts doing it right, and I believe that day is coming real soon, and we start really changing America, picking up our cross and willing to sacrifice everything, and we start coming against the demonic evil of the world, oh, you haven't even seen censorship yet. We keep going on with the article. You can point out he is still on his radio show and website, and that is unquestionably true. But when it comes to the everyday tools most people interact with to receive information and communication in 2018, Alex Jones has been thrown down the memory hole. This is going to hurt Alex Jones's career in ways he probably couldn't have ever even imagined. And I hate to say that. Unless something can be created quickly, a new platform can be created quickly that catches like wildfire for Christians and conservatives to have their voices on. You see, well, he might still have his radio show. You might still have his website. I'm sorry to tell you, most of us don't watch shows by going to their website. Now, you can go to www.zachdrewshow.com and watch the show. But most of you are probably watching from the PTL television network on Shekel TV, Cross TV, or maybe the social media platforms like Facebook, like Twitter, like YouTube. Anytime I ever watched a InfoWars program, I would say 95% of the time it was through social media platforms. Only 5% of the time was ever me actually going to the site to hear what he had to say about a particular subject. They are censoring. It's going to radically change how he does things. Now, it's not against the law to be crazy or even say crazy things in this country. It's also not against the law to say hateful things. It's pretty obvious the main reason Alex Jones was deleted from public discourse by Silicon Valley executives relates to his impact. When the outrage mob consisting of politicians, corporate media outlets like CNN, and even his own employees complained to Twitter's Jack Dorsey on the issue of Alex Jones. When this happened, he couldn't hold the line on free speech because his company's own policies are junk. Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube should have a clear policy when it comes to speech, and it should be this. If it isn't breaking the law, in other words, if it's protected under the First Amendment, it stays up. Period. Period. There should be no argument against this. That's why our American technology companies, our American social media companies ought to adhere to America's Constitution. I really do believe that. But that's what it is. The left, we don't have time to do a show on this day, but the left, they don't care about our Constitution. They want to tear down the Constitution. They don't want to make America great again. They want to make the world great through globalism. And they understand that the one thing that stands in the way of a one world order is this. It's one thing. It's a strong America. That's what it is. It's a strong America. And if they can come against nationalists' voice, you see, they're not coming against the left's voice because, like I said, Louis Farrakhan, he's an incredibly hateful man. Says horrific things. It's not it's not like that. They're coming against people that don't agree with them. And they want a new world order. They want a global society. And nationalists stand in the way. So if they can censor nationalists, well, then they can have their way. You can understand that the thing that's in the way of a new world order is a strong America. So that if they can diminish America, and if they can silence the nationalists, and they can change the way the youth think in universities, teaching them to hate America, they rewrite history to make us, they don't share the good things that America has done. They only share the warts. There are warts in America's history, but they only show the warts of America's history, painting a picture that America is horrible, is awful. We have no reason to love this country. This is what they do to young people in universities. They rewrite history. Because if they can get you to hate your country, then you're not going to be a nationalist. If you're not a nationalist, you don't love your country, then you don't care about America. You care about globalism, socialism, and ultimately communism. And unfortunately, one day it is going to get there. I mean, we're going to give a good fight as Christians. We're going to fight till the end. But I mean, the fact of the matter is this, that in the book of Revelation, it does say that the Antichrist is going to wage war against the saints, and he will prevail for a season. So he is going to have world domination. It's going to happen. It doesn't mean we sit down. It means we get radical. We get fired up. We try to do something about it. Within the article, they actually quoted something because they're coming after our Constitution. The left does not care about our Constitution. In the article, it quotes something kind of ominous that Henry Kissinger said in 1975. And he says this, quote, "Before the Freedom of Information Act, I used to say at meetings, the illegal we do immediately. The unconstitutional takes a little longer." Well, we're at that stage right now where they're trying to wreak havoc against our Constitution. Censorship is what a hard word to say, my goodness. Censorship. Have grace on me. We don't edit the shows. Is here. It's here. It's only going to get worse. Conservative views and Christian views, because these views are in stark contrast with what they would like to achieve in the world, it's going to get worse. It's going to get worse. But I believe Christians are going to create a platform. What do I mean by a platform? Well, whenever YouTube completely kicks off Christians, well, YouTube is a platform. Facebook is a platform. iTunes is a platform. Twitter is a platform. Did I say YouTube, baby? All right, yes, YouTube, platform. We have got to create a platform. And if we don't, you might be thinking, well, we don't really need it right now because I can still get my voice out. Yeah, you know what? You're right. We don't need it at this very moment, but we might need it 5 years from now. Can you imagine what the world would look like right now? The censorship that would be taking place if Hillary Clinton would have been elected? The censorship that's going to be happening in the next 10 years, 15 years, whenever they completely silence you, you're going to be saying to yourself, oh, I wish we could have had a platform. Well, we can, but we've got to start building it now. And I do believe, and you might be thinking to yourself, get off your high horse, Zach, but I say it humbly, I honestly believe that this is what the Lord has called me to. I believe whenever I was a junior in high school, whenever he called me to Christian media, he told me, Zach, you're going to help revolutionize Christian media. And I don't know what it's going to look like, how it's going to be done. But it very well could be this platform I'm talking about. Creating something. And that's not something tacky. Okay? Because people have tried to do some things tacky. And quite frankly, they're hilarious. Like Christians one time. And if you love it, if you use it, God bless you. But they created, instead of Facebook, they created Faithbook. So as the alternative to Facebook, you had Faithbook. I mean, okay, I had this little plaque on my desk for several years that it said, be sure to check your Facebook today, because I thought it was hilarious. It was so tacky. It was so funny. I would see it, I would just laugh. It literally sounds like you're saying Facebook, but with a lisp. Check your Facebook. I mean, just like it's ridiculous. And so not to create something tacky, but something that is powerful, is meaningful, is original. And then it's going to be anointed by God, and it's going to catch like wildfire. I believe that. And I'm going to be a part of it. I want to be one of the, I want to be one of the top guys in it. Lord, get this done. I'll be a vessel. If no one else wants to do it, I'll do it, Lord. I'll be a part of it. Just send some, I'm praying that God will send the most radically talented people to this ministry that will get this vision accomplished. I mean, that the world, that there are guys that have the means. Some have the know-how, some have the means. I know some people with the know-how and the means. We need to come together to build this before it's too late. Listen to my last two shows about technology. It's going to get radical very, very, very quickly. You know, but I say all this. The whole show I've been saying bad things are going to happen. Bad things. You know, it's kind of like the funny way of how they say they always start out the evening news by saying good evening, and then proceeding by telling you how it's not. You know, good evening. Now let me tell you how it's not a good evening at all. But as I've been telling you some bad news today, but I'm telling you right now, the good news is that we win in the end. I'm not worried. I'm a fighter, like I am. I'm going to be a warrior for God. I have completely come to grips. Something that used to terrify me as a child and growing up was the concept of eternity. And even whenever I didn't know if God was real or not, I had this concept of eternity in my heart. Because it actually says that in the Old Testament, God says that He placed eternity in the hearts of men. Because I believe that He places things in the hearts of men that we'll never be able to understand in our mind. So as it was always in my heart, even the atheist, you know, who says there's no God, there's something in his heart. That on his deathbed, he feels like, it's not over yet. Even after this, there's something more, you know. Because God has placed eternity in our hearts. I came to grips, and so what I'm saying is that I came into grips with me being an eternal being, and I have the opportunity for eternal salvation and to live with Jesus for all of eternity because I accepted His sacrifice and I've made Him my Lord and Savior, and I get to spend forever, billions and millions and millions and millions of years to the infinite power with Jesus in awesomeness, in complete awesomeness, right? Eternity, because I accepted Him. Now, there is an alternative eternity that if you do not accept Him, you'll be spending those billions and billions of years in eternal damnation apart from all things that are good and apart from Jesus. But I'm fired up because I understand. I am eternally minded. I understand that this world is truly just a vapor. We're here for a while and we're gone. You know, one day whenever we're 10 billion years old, I mean, really, that's a crazy thought, Zach, but really, I mean, if the Bible is true, and I believe it is, I know it is. One day whenever we're 10 billion years old, you know, what is 100 years if you're incredibly blessed to live on earth? It's a vapor. Anything compared to eternity is a vapor. And that's why whenever you realize that this life means absolutely nothing, the moment you realize that this life means absolutely nothing is the moment that it means absolutely everything. Because once you realize it means nothing, you try to figure out what in the world I need to do in this vapor. The purpose of this little vapor that we're experiencing right now, I don't know if you're 15 years old or you're 85 years old or 95 years old, you're in your vapor. You're in your little mist right now that appears for a while and it's gone. That's what you're living. That's what you're experiencing, that tiny little vapor that James talks about right now. And this little itty bitty mist that we're experiencing called life here on earth right now, do you know what the purpose of this is? To know God. To know God. To accept Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior. To live that out. To know God and to make Him known. That's it. To know God and to make Him known. You know, I'm reminded of the story in Genesis whenever Joseph's dad, Jacob, came to Israel and he met before Pharaoh. And Pharaoh said, "How old are you?" And he said, "The years of my pilgrimage." I don't remember how old he was now. I don't have it. This isn't in my notes. Was it 120, 130? I don't know how old he was. We'll just say 120. But he said this. He goes, "The years of my pilgrimage are 120. But the years of my pilgrimage. He didn't say I'm 120 years old. He said the years of my pilgrimage. Like, think about that. The going from one place to another. Just simply walking in this realm until we enter eternal glory with Jesus. We didn't have that mindset. We're just pilgrims. This world is not our own. Think about being in World War II behind enemy lines. That's where we are right now. We are in occupied territory of the enemy, and we're behind enemy lines right now. And we're literally, I wouldn't say it being, the right word isn't deceiving, because we're Christians, but like, if you can think about it, being behind the enemy lines and occupied territory, well, you've got to be secret about it. You got to, let me tell you about, the love of Jesus. Let me tell you how this world, our goal is to know God and to make Him known. Listen, if you were blessed by this program today, consider donating financially. My new co-host will be here next week. You know him. If you've been watching me for the last, several years, you know him, and I'm really excited. He was a co-host of mine at one point in time on a particular show. And but listen, he's coming, and we just need things. I don't want to spend a lot of time. We need your financial help in a major way. We need, and I'm just believing in God. I have a radical faith for this. It's not 5 or 10 people. We need hundreds of people to get behind this. Hundreds of people. Please consider being one of those people that donate, that consider sowing into this ministry. Consider sowing into this ministry. I think that in eternity you won't regret it. I think that, if you give and we save 1 million souls, I think that you're going to get rewards from it as well. But just consider sowing into it. We really need your help. And consider being a monthly reoccurring member. We've had a couple people, give $25, $50. We've got a person giving $100 a month. We really need a few hundred people. We don't need a few hundred people giving $500 a month. I mean, if you can do that, that's awesome. We need a few hundred people giving, $25 and $50 a month to make this thing happen. You can, if you're on a computer, we got a new system. That's another thing. We were using PayPal. People weren't really comfortable with using PayPal. We still have the option, but we have this incredible new system on our website called Tithely. And it does it, it's really simple to use. Over 6,000 churches are using it throughout America. An incredibly easy way to give. Consider doing that online at www.zachdrewshow.com. And please, one-time gifts, absolutely welcome. But please consider, becoming a recurring monthly partner to this ministry. Also, if you want to write a check, you can make it out to IGBY, which is what I created this thing, the Zach Drew Show, but the covering I wanted it to be called IGBY, which is I go before you, a promise that God gave to Joshua, leading a wandering generation to the promised land. Don't be afraid, because I'm going to go before you and be with you. So make it out to IGBY and send it to P.O. Box 797, Decatur, Illinois, 62525. I love you guys. We'll see you next week.